Hello parents, and welcome to my math classroom. My name is Mrs. Reck. I graduated from DSU with a degree in elementary and special education and a minor in reading and technology in the year 2017. I am so excited to begin the journey with your kindergartners in learning math. Some of the things I will talk to you today will be about what skills your students will be learning this year, some of my teaching strategies and routines, how we will use technology in the classroom, and what assessments will look like in math. Our state follows the Common Core state standards, and that just means it gives me a checklist of things your students need to know before moving on to first grade. This means it's telling us what to teach and not how to teach. This year, your students will be learning number names and how to count in order, counting objects, and comparing numbers. We will also be learning the concept of takeaway and adding to prepare them for addition and subtraction. Along with that, we will be taking a peek at place value and identifying and creating shapes. One of the things I focus on in my math classroom is to get a good understanding of numbers and concepts rather than just procedures, so my students have a good foundation in mathematics. So let's look at some of the procedures we do from day to day in my math classroom. Right away, when math class starts, students will be greeted with a problem of the day written on the board. This problem could be a review problem from the homework or a previous lesson. It could be a reach problem, which would be a problem they may not be familiar with, but I want to give them an idea of what they're going to learn about for the day. Or it could just be a silly riddle to get their brains fired up and ready for the lessons. We will have whole class lessons where we learn a skill or concept, and then we will be given ample time to practice and work with that concept in class to avoid any confusion for assignments that might come home. Something we'll use a lot of during math, especially in kindergarten, are called manipulatives. These come in the form of chips, blocks, dice, and other hands-on objects that help me teach and help your students grasp concepts in a much more concrete way. Another strategy I really like to use is called Math Talk. Math Talk consists of 5 different moves. The first move is called revoicing. This is where I take the student's answer and change it into a more complete answer or make it easier for their fellow classmates to understand. The second move is called repeating, where peers are asked to repeat or rephrase another student's answer. This part is important because it engages all of the students and they learn to listen closely to one another instead of just learning for themselves to be called on. They have to know what's going on in the conversation. Reasoning is the third move. It gets students to describe how they got to an answer, and this is way important in getting a feeling if they're having that really concrete understanding of the concept. Adding on is another great tool to get students involved in that discussion. The fifth Math Talk move is weighting. So there is when I allow students to do most of the talking rather than me just giving them that answer outright when no one raises their hand or wants to be called upon right away. Finally, the last move is called turn and talk. This gets students conversing about math. How cool is that with one another? I love that. So let's move on to what I'm going to use for technology. I will supplement our math textbook and my lessons with some technology. We'll be using the online math system called IXL in our network here. This is a self-paced math program that allows students to practice skills that we're working on in class with more help available to them through videos and examples. I love that it comes from a different place than me, and they can see how different ways are being taught, and they can still grasp that core concept. Another thing I love about this program is that it allows us to differentiate instruction for students because we all learn at different paces. So IXL really fills those gaps well. Another thing that I would like to discuss with you guys about that I like to implement is called Fun Fridays. This is a build-up every week for students, and it's a good end of the week that gets them excited to do all of their work on time, and they get to appreciate and be a part of Fun Fridays. We will use technology in Fun Fridays by the way of iPads and using specific math apps that really grab their attention and lets them practice the skills we're working on without even realizing that they are working on skills. They think they're just playing a game. So that is really awesome. And then finally, here comes the dreaded question you're all wondering. What about assessments? I know that in our assessment-driven system, this can be a concern for many parents, especially of students that are so young. I want you to know that I want each and every one of your students to succeed, and I will work my hardest to get them there. After each section in math that we learn, students will be given a paper pencil test that's really just a combination of the practices we've done throughout the section. There will be nothing new or surprising on the test meant to confuse students. If the student does happen to do poorly, he or she will get the opportunity to discuss it with me and then figure out what they need to work on. They will be given some sample problems to further check their new knowledge and understanding. And once I think that is all working out, they will be given the opportunity to retake the test because I want them all to succeed in what they're doing. And this will only give them a better attitude in math and education altogether. So, does anyone have any questions for me? That's a great question. Why are you teaching all that new math stuff? I believe the key to having a good relationship with math is understanding the very foundation and underlying concepts. We can and will teach them some formulas, just like you and I learned them growing up. But my goal in learning math in this fresher way is so students have that deeper understanding and about math and number relationships rather than just the simple memorization. We have another question. Did they do math on the computer? Thank you for your question. Yes, we will utilize the math program IXL that I mentioned earlier. This way, it can reinforce the skills the students are learning in the classroom and is geared at each level that the student is at. Thank you all for your time, and I know we are just going to have a great year in math.